That is my fucking basketball team, baby. Here we go. That's it. Okay. Needed it. Needed it. Woo! Hi, friends. Welcome to the Knicks Film School Postgame Show, presented by BetUS. I'm sorry. I wanted that one bad. I wanted that one in the worst way. I wanted that one more than I've wanted any game this year. I've wanted that one, or I wanted that one more than I've wanted pretty much most regular season games that I can remember. Big win. I know what I would have got on here and said had they lost that game. If a couple things don't go their way late in the fourth quarter, I would have got up here. I said, it's all right. It's a long season. You showed some grit. You showed some toughness. You cleaned up your defense in the second half. All things that would have been perfectly plausible. It wouldn't have been a win. It would not have been a win. And sometimes when you are a new team and when you are coming together and you're figuring things out and you continue to experience the same issues over and over again that prevent you from winning games, at some point, you need to start winning those games. And the Knicks today figured out a way to win a game that, I'm sorry, for up until this point in the season, they do not win. And they did it in their style, in the style of this version of the Knicks, this new version, this version that we have all taken to getting used to. There's been some good. There's been some not so good. It's been a bumpy adjustment process. It's been a bumpy adjustment process for them. Did you see the first three quarters of that game? My Lord, I thought the best tweet, because he's not skeeting yet, he's only tweeting. The best tweet that I think I've read all season was by Benji Ritholtz. Shout out to him when he tweeted out, it was 23 minutes ago, so not that long ago. I lost count a long time ago the number of blatant miscommunications, failures to simply match up, and nonsensical rotations. It's awful. That was from this game. This game that has me this fired up. And he's right. He was right. We're 23 games into the season, or 24 games into the season, whatever it is, 24. And they're still doing stuff that is really frustrating. And are they a great defense yet? Absolutely not. Are they a good defense? Maybe they're getting there. Maybe a win like this spurs them. Maybe they could look at what they just accomplished down the stretch of this game and say, you know what? We gave up 60 points at halftime, or 61 points at halftime to a team. 61 points at halftime to a team that, apologies to any Raptors fans who may be watching this or listening to this, that has no business scoring 61 points in a half, even at home where they are a different basketball team. I pointed that out earlier today. If you take away their season opening blowout loss to the Cavs, they have essentially a even scoring margin and a winning record over their last 11 games at home. And RJ Barrett plays like an all-star at home, and he sure as shit played like an all-star tonight. Let me stop for a second, because in my exuberance, I did not toast the best player in this game. And I'm going to do it right now. Cheers to you, RJ Barrett. You get the first sip of Juan Please dedicated to you, because you're the best player in the game. And were there some moments down the stretch that we will talk about? Yes. Were there some Knicks that had more uneven efforts tonight, that came up with some absolutely massive plays down the stretch in this game? You're goddamn right they were. But RJ Barrett came to play tonight, and at the very least, he can rest his head on the pillow when he goes to bed, although I'm sure he's not going to sleep well tonight, because that guy does care about winning. He's going to know that he did everything in his power. He's the best player on the floor, and he's a really good NBA player. And he showed it tonight. And I think he proved something to a lot of people, perhaps within the Knicks organization, perhaps some of his own teammates, and certainly to people like me who decided long ago that he wasn't it, that he was not part of the answer. And I don't know if he's going to be part of the answer for the Raptors, but he sure as shit played like it tonight. So kudos to RJ Barrett. Hell of a game. But did not come home with the win. Look, should this game have come down to what it came down to? Absolutely not. The Knicks were fully healthy for the first time, well, without Mitchell Robinson, but the version that we've been waiting to see for the first time all year. Although I don't know how healthy Jalen Brunson really is. He'll never say it. He'll never admit to anything, and he's certainly not going to miss any games unless the dude literally can't walk. But they were fully formed, and they were going up against a Raptors team that is, probably going to be competing for lottery balls at the end of the season, home record aside. And that Raptors team lost Scotty Barnes midway through the third quarter, and Barnes, despite RJ doing what he's been doing this year, is still, I would probably argue, is their best player, although that's at least more of a conversation now. And so, this should not have come down to what it came down to. And it's for all the reasons, Benji nailed it. It's like, it wasn't because they couldn't score. Did the threes stop falling at a certain point? Yeah, three stopped falling at a certain point, but still shot more than well enough to win. 51% from the field, 42.5% from three. The free throws, I'm not going to kill them on it because they've been the best, literally, even after the last game, the Detroit game, they've been the best free throw shooting team all year. It's a little blip on the radar. Let's hope. That didn't help. But you scored and you shot more than well enough to win. It was on the other end of the floor that left a lot to be desired, and that is why it required them to do what they did down the stretch. And boy, did they make some plays down the stretch. Let me talk to you about a few of them. So I want to start at the beginning of the fourth quarter, because that third quarter, after they themselves scored 60 in the third, or in the first half, that third quarter for them was a slog. They scored 23 points in a quarter, which for the Knicks is unthinkable. I mean, they roll out of bed and they put up 30 points in a quarter. So for them to only score 23, a lot of the threes that were going down in the first half were not going down. They had, some more poor execution in terms of fast breaks, I thought. It was not looking great. And so for Mikal Bridges to start off the fourth quarter with a three, and above the break three, by the way, as Jalen Brunson returned to the bench after he had gotten hurt, I thought that was a really important shot for momentum, which is why I want to start there. Campaign did not have a great game by any stretch of the imagination. I think he may have only made one or two field goals. It was 3 for 6, actually. Missed all. Nope. Hopefully I'm back. Then after that, we had another Mikal Bridges three after the Raptors had taken the lead back to put them up by 2. And then we had some really, really big moments. We had an OG steal that I need to go back and rewatch it because I'm not sure I believe what I saw. It was over in the corner of the court. I don't think there's anybody else in the league who makes the steal that he makes. I don't think they were able to convert it into points there, but that's okay. That was with about 7 minutes left. And then you had a Josh Hart three that was positively massive, a Karl-Anthony Towns three that was positively massive, a Josh Hart miss around the rim. Figures that Josh Hart has been the best 2-point shooting almost player in the league this season. I think Daniel Gafford may be higher than him coming into tonight. And for the first time, he saved up all of his misses for tonight inside the arc. He had an unbelievable miss. OG comes back in when it's a tie game. And then Jalen Brunson, after the Knicks had given up yet another three, the Raptors ended up in this game shooting 13 for 35 from deep, 37%. It felt like more. Jalen Brunson has what up to that point was clearly the play of the game. 3-pointer with the shot clock expiring, fouled on the play, makes the free throw. I think I have to give that. I'm thinking about it. Yeah, I think I got to do it. Mark, why don't you throw up the graphic? I'm giving that the autograph signature moment of the game. And leave the graphic up here for a second. Again, shout out to Autograph. My 3x3 went up today. Go check that out on the Autograph app where you can get rewarded for your fandom. Use code KFS, of course. So after that, we had an RJ Barrett turnover. We had an RJ Barrett airball. I said it wasn't perfect down the stretch from him. And then after the Raptors scored to give them back the lead, I think it actually may have been RJ with the bucket there. I will refresh my recollection right now, but the Raptors went back ahead by 1 after the Knicks had taken a 1-point lead. It was the other contender for the autograph signature moment of the game, which was the Mikal Bridges corner 3 that came off of an absolute dime. An absolute dime from Karl-Anthony Towns. And if you want to talk about the things that Karl-Anthony Towns, it was Davion Mitchell, by the way, excuse me, that made that 2-point shot that gave the Raptors back the lead. It was not RJ Barrett. Davion Mitchell was some big buckets laid. And if you want to talk about the impact that Karl-Anthony Towns has on an offense, yeah, you can talk about the scoring. Yeah, you can talk about the fact that he can put the ball on the floor. Yeah, you can you could talk about just, I mean, his range. I think at or near the top of the list has to be his ability to leverage his skill set, which is it's either a 1 of 1 or a 1 of 2, because that Jokic guy does exist. Skill set in the league, his ability to leverage that in a way that is not only completely and totally unselfish, but is instantaneous in his ability to read a defense. And I can't sit here and tell you that I watched every one of his games when he was with Minnesota, because I certainly did not. Like a lot of people, I came into this year thinking, all right, it's going to be like 80-20 good to bad. And the 20 is probably going to be some of the most frustrating stuff I've ever watched in my basketball life. I got to tell you, it's been nowhere near that ratio. And the bad, honestly, I don't even think it's been that bad. But the good, in terms of like reading the game and decision making and playing within yourself and not forcing stuff, it has been so good. How many pinpoint passes did he make tonight? And in that moment, for him to read the defense instantly and say, I'm kicking it to that guy who is having one hell of a night. And of course, Mikal Bridges drained the 3. So thank you, Mark. We could take a shout out to Mark, who's on the 1s and 2s. So that gave them the 2-point lead. And we then had, again, a crazy heart shot from the mid-range that he's made. I think feels like he's made 85% of those this year. Missed it. Cat can't get his hands on the offensive rebound. RJ finishes. Ty Graham. Then we have the fantastic out of bounds play call. And I know they criticized the decision to double Jalen up at the top of the arc. I don't know. If I'm the Raptors, I'm not letting Jalen Brunson beat you there. I'm not letting Jalen Brunson beat me. I'm just not. I'm going to make someone else beat me. I'm going to make another Nick make a decision, or I'm going to make him, Jalen Brunson, make a pass. What did Jalen Brunson do? Jalen Brunson made a pass. And it was his 11th assist of the game, a game in which he finished. It was not a perfect game by Jalen Brunson. Defensively, was he a part of their issues? Were the Raps hunting him like a lot of teams have been hunting him of late on defense? Absolutely. It didn't feel like he was himself in that first half, culminating in those 2 missed free throws at the end of the half on that reviewed call. But the dude finished with 20 points on 7 of 13 shooting, hit 4 of 8 from 3, 11 assists to 3 turnovers, 4 rebounds. Like, all he does is win, and this is just the latest example of it. Making the right play and a tough pass in that spot, and then Towns getting the finish with the 2. And then And then, I've praised Brunson here. I haven't praised Hart, but I thought Hart did some nice things. Karl-Anthony Towns, praised him. Really, really strong game. Mikal Bridges probably is going to have to get the player of the game for me. It's going to be tight, but and again, another guy, I know he was part of the defensive issues, but when you score 23 points and you drain 5 of 8 threes, including not 1, not 2, but 3 positively massive threes in the fourth quarter that your team desperately needed, you get player of the game. I hope this is the moment. And I know we got a little crazy excited about that Pelicans game. I hope / think this is the moment that Mikal Bridges becomes a Knick. For real. Because they needed him and they don't win this game without him. So shout out to him. I've shouted out all those people. But there was a reason why they traded RJ Barrett in the deal that they did. And I know there may not have been uniform belief in RJ Barrett throughout the organization, but we've read reporting at the time, and it's just common sense. I'm sure there were some people in there who thought, even on the day they traded him, pretty highly of him and said, you know what? We've been patient for this long. Let's ride it out maybe a little bit longer, or who knows what's going to happen in the years to come with Julius Randle. What does he look like without Randle? All those sorts of things. But when they had an opportunity to go get the most game-changing perimeter, it's unfair to even call him a perimeter defensive player, but non-traditional center defender in the NBA, and add that guy to Jalen Brunson and whatever else they were going to put around Jalen Brunson, they didn't blink. And they said, yeah, okay, sure. And it's because they knew. And it's because they knew that no matter what kind of offense they were going to construct, they were going to have to make big-time defensive plays when they needed them the most. And they haven't made enough of those big-time defensive plays this year. But boy, do they make one now. And OG Anunoby, it's so funny because he gets, the blocks he gets are not the blocks that most players get. Most players you see get blocks, first of all, are centers. And it's when someone challenges them at the rim or around the bat, close to the hoop, and they stand up straight and are very tall, and they make a play. OG's out here either doing one of two things. He's either swatting away threes, which he did twice within the span of a minute, again tonight. Absurd. Or he is coming like a bat out of hell when you least expect him. And that is what he did to RJ Barrett on that last play. And it's up there with the Brunson 3. I don't know how to decide one or the other. Maybe because the RJ shot would have only tied the game, whereas the Brunson 3 against the Nets, obviously they needed that to take the lead and win the game. Neck and neck for play of the season for the Knicks. And OG made it, and then you come back down the other end. By the way, why was the offense looked a little disorganized there? Not disorganized, but they weren't. Why didn't they get it to Jalen Brunson on that last possession that resulted in the Towns 3? Because he wasn't in the game, because Tom Thibodeau subbed him out in a defense-offense substitution that I thought was brilliant in the moment. So Tom Thibodeau, in the final minute or two of this game, had two absolutely massive things that he did to contribute to this win. A brilliant play call that I think he assumed the Raptors were going to double Brunson, and it would open up the roll for Cat, which was with 36 seconds left, and then the decision to sub out Deuce, because once you sub out Deuce, at that point, you can switch everything. And or at the very least, even if you weren't going to switch everything there, you were not going to have anyone that the Raptors could target. And that was absolutely massive. And that's it. And that's a win. And I can't wait to see and hear and read about some of the commentary after this game. I am sure that they will downplay it. I am sure that they will try not to make, um, you know, more out of it than it was. I'm sure they don't feel like they, like, quote unquote, needed this win. And that's fine. I felt like we needed it. I felt like we needed it. And I have a feeling there's some people watching right now who may have felt like the Knicks needed it too. Man, what a freaking win. We could talk about some other things. We could talk about Precious Achiuwa, his third game back. I thought he acclimated himself nicely again in what was a return game for him to Toronto. We could talk about Deuce McBride. There's never a game, it seems like, where Deuce McBride does not hit some absolutely massive threes. He hit a couple of them tonight. We could talk about yet another 30-plus assist game for the Knicks. They had 32 assists on 42 made shots. That is going to be right there for their highest. 32 assists when your team only scores 113 points and you only had 12 free throws. That's a lofty number. And if you want to talk about some of the bad stuff too, we could talk about some of the bad stuff too. They gave up 17 offensive rebounds to the Raptors, only 2 in the fourth quarter, which, if you want to look for a little silver lining, there's that. Too many offensive rebounds, which again comes from the fact that they were getting their defense, bent into a pretzel, and there's no one left there to box out. And give the Raptors credit. The Raptors, I thought, the Raptors played a hell of a game. And that is, I don't know how they started the season. 2-11, 2-12, whatever they started the season at. But that's a team that, we'll see what happens with Barnes. Looks like he's going to be out for a while. But that's a team that, and I've been watching them as much as I can. They're not a pushover. They are anything but a pushover. So don't think that, the Knicks, they eked one out against a 7-win team. Let's hold our horses. Yeah, sure, if you want to hold your horses a little bit, but this is a real team. And at home, they're something more than a real team.